Alright, welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings Here. Not in Mindham. Use that line again just for the hell of it. So, the subject of the day. This is, I'm making the video late. Okay. Yeah, I'm still distracted by 4 million things. This whole transitioning to a new life. Light. Getting the light to work. That kind of stuff. So anyway, difficult. Taxing. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. Yeah, anyway. So, the subject of the video will sort of be a subject that nobody likes. I don't even like it. It just kind of has to do with the fact that, all this noise. Anyway, where our obligations are much higher than what is personally going to do you any good. In terms of, we really are, as individuals, we don't sense it, but we really are kind of like a Superman visiting some primitive planet, and he's got to go save the day all the time and all that kind of stuff. If you're a Superman, who cares, right? Because you always feel great, and you're always strong, and you always feel like doing something super. But obviously, we're, bags of shit, and we often don't do all that stuff. We don't take care of ourselves, and we don't function very well. And so it's a real burden to have to go save the day all the time. Go out and try to rescue people from their mistakes and their miscalculations and their misunderstandings and all of that stuff. But it really is the obligation. So, I mean, we're all way underperforming in our lives. We're way too high maintenance. And we produce more negatives. Probably the average human makes more messes than he ever cleans up. So he ruins the day a lot more often than he saves the day. Just a fact. And, but we all should be striving. We all should be doing better than that, or doing the best we can, and we're all doing a lot less than the best we can. Well, I can't say all. Some people might be trying very, very hard. They might really spend all day long thinking about how to make themselves perform better, to do better, to be perfect in their interaction with the stupid world. Now, clearly I would argue that anti-nihilists are way ahead, because they're preventing harm, and so they're doing productive work by every time they slide in some sort of notion that don't make messes, don't make messes, don't make messes. They're at least preventing messes, which is the best thing you can do, is then you don't have to save the day. So if you don't make the train and you don't make the trestle bridge thing, you don't have to worry about saving the train when it falls off the bridge and all that kind of stuff. So don't make a mess. You got no mess to clean up. So that's very productive. Just to be negative towards the risk of errors and mistakes and messes. So don't drop the glass. You don't have to glue the glass back together. A million analogies. Don't get drunk. You don't got to get the abortion. All that kind of crap. You can just come up with analogies all over the place. So the modern mystic, Nick, who I really appreciated as a foil, as something I interacted with in my philosophical life, in my life. Very instructive in terms of being a good, I didn't think of that kind of person, or always, at least driving a conversation to more explicit language and getting to a deeper level of conversation. The bad news is he's a nihilist asshole. He's an idiot who hasn't figured out that your obligations, rationally and logically, are, in fact, not to consider yourself very important, and to understand all you really are is your stupid mouth, in terms of your interactions with the world and whatever gestures you can make. And that's all you've got as a reality to who you were on planet Earth. And so if you aren't saying stuff that makes people careful and humble and cautious and all of that good stuff, then you're not saying anything worth hearing, because you're not stopping the mess making. You're not making the world a better place, because you're just making it so people can walk around being glib assholes and keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. So if you aren't a nagging bitch, I mean, just really just, and I do know what those are, you know, you're not doing your job. You're failing to optimize your performance. So anyway, he made a video. It's just sort of, I don't even understand the title. I don't know what, you know. Anyway, but because he read some frickin' old British bullshit books, you know, history of some kind. I don't know. I don't know. You know, his taste in literature is a little hard to understand. But he's read a lot of stuff. So, I mean, he reads everything. So I guess he'll read, you know, ingredient labels and whatnot. I, on the other hand, just couldn't give a shit. Everybody else is an idiot, and so why bother reading their stupid gibberish? But anyway, so inspired thoughts in his head about what would be his perfect life, I guess, or, you know, how would he like to interact in the world, and what's the optimum nick, or whatever, the optimum human condition. And I always found those kind of daydreams to fail, just because you imagine yourself as one of these people and you end up being like, oh yeah, I'll be rich like Donald Trump. Well, he's not even rich. He's just a faker, complete fake. And he's such an asshole. I certainly wouldn't want to be an asshole. So what's the point of doing that shit? Because one has to go with the other. You don't get rich by being a great person. You get rich by finding all kinds of ways to screw everybody else and not pay your bills and do all that kind of bullshit. You know, you have to be a real con artist to get rich. You have to be a fucking shithead. And Nick just ignores all that part by just saying, well, imagine being the king, or, you know, I inherited it, and therefore I have to be just as big an asshole as everybody else, and I can't just all of a sudden declare Human Rights Day as the king and say, no, it's all your stuff. We stole it, okay? It's your shit, you know? I'll give it all back to you. You know, it's we, the humans. You know, it's all of ours. I have no right to own all this crap. You know, I stole it from your ancestors. I mean, I killed them and took their shit. So, I mean, it's just logical. So, you have to have realistic parameters. So then once you say, okay, let's have realistic parameters where I can't just pretend that I got rich doing something special, like inventing something. See, even when you start doing that, right? I did that kind of thing. I thought about, well, I could invent penicillin, or I could cure cancer. And I'd say, well, if I'm getting rich off of it, that's bullshit, because now I'm charging too much for the cure for cancer, because I have to get rich. It just never works. You just don't make the world a better place that way. I mean, you do, in the sense that you cured cancer. But even then, again, you cure cancer, so what? There's all the other shit that's going to kill people 2 years later. So instead of dying of cancer, they die of, you know, some other bullshit 58 days later. You know, it just, all you're doing is extending life a little. You're really not making it better. In some ways. Don't get me wrong. Penicillin, that's sort of a win. You know, I don't think you can come up with a negative for that one in terms of the quality of life. It just eliminates an awful lot of useless suffering. And death. Well, death, untimely death, let's put it. Death that really doesn't need to happen, because you could last another 50 years if you didn't die. But anyway, I don't want to go through all that crap. Quality of life. So the whole real point is we're just arguing about, well, what's the thing to value in this stupid world? And as I've pointed out 5 million times, and a lot of people just hate the idea of it, the only thing of value is the state, the condition of the sentient brains on Earth. Now, obviously, most of the sentient brains on Earth are trapped in horrible natural conditions where it's just brutal as fuck. You know, most of the children get murdered, molested and murdered. I mean, it's worse than the worst urban blight in terms of a horrible place to live. You know, crappy life expectancy in that sense, and just terrible conditions, and we're just, so what? Pay no attention to that, even though they're experiencing all this emotional pain, all of this physical pain, all of this pain, this discomfort, this very negative packets of time, where brain is doing something quite obnoxious. And that's all there is to fight, though, in the world. There is no other enemy. The only enemy is the sentient brain feeling bad, you know, feeling sick, feeling stressed, feeling unsettled, feeling bad feelings. That's all there is experience. And so we're already having a pointless conversation in some sense, a baby conversation, if we just talk about the condition of the little humans, because the little humans are a tiny percentage of the frickin' thing that is having the experiences, the feelings. So I have to engage in that, though, because that's the only way you dumbasses can interact, is with your human-centered view of the universe. Your fucking, well, intelligence makes me feel more bullshit. It makes you feel different. It doesn't make you feel more intensely. It could be argued that intelligence dulled our senses, didn't enhance our senses. You know, because we're wasting all of this brain space on vocabulary, where a monkey is using its brain space to smell and sense and touchy-feely the world. And you're not doing any of that because you have to waste a whole bunch of your brain to organize vocabulary. So anyway, so the real game is just kind of obvious. I mean, as soon as you understand I'm not special, I mean, you can think you're special, like, okay, at least I'm not as dumb as that person, I'm not as fat as that person, I'm not as whatever as that person. But you're not special in the sense that what you feel and how you interact with the world is not Superman. You're not from Krypton or something. You're an earthling, you're a human. You know, you might have more elaborate stories to tell, but frankly, it's just about the story. It just isn't who's telling it, and it's not really about how much furniture is in the room. It just doesn't matter. It's a story. Whether the, you know, run, Spot, run, whether Spot's a poodle or a Pekingese doesn't make any difference, really. So we just can't pretend that it matters more that I experience a meaningful life and fun and joy and all of that crap. It's all the same, whether it's me or you or you or you or you or you. It just doesn't matter who's experiencing it. Comfort is all that has value, is an engaged and feeling good brain state is all we're after. And in the end, that's the only thing that's a good. The bads are obvious. They're anything other than comfort. Okay? And they should be, as a class of events, discouraged or prevented or helped or fixed. Fixed is the good word. But there's a catch. You can't fix them in a way where you just make the person into an imbecile, a retard. Like, retards are, generally speaking, quite content in life, unless they're psychotic retards. In that they get over things, they're living in the moment, they're sort of like a dog, you know, blah, 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 blah. And so they can't get traumatized by impending things because they can't see very far into the future, and they don't see very far into the past. So they don't really have a perspective that makes them nervous and anxious and upset all the time. Now, yes, there are states of retardation where that's exactly all they experience, is all of that negative. But I'm just saying, as a general statement, being stupid enables you to evade realizing you're in hell. And so you can have a good time sometimes in hell, you know, when the fire's low enough and they're only poking you a little bit at the time, you know, they're on their lunch break. You could have a good time in hell for some periods of time because the tormentors, you know, don't have to always exist. They're not always doing their job, and you can take advantage of that. I'm using an analogy. And life is like that, right? So the less you know, sometimes the better off you are. But clearly the point I'm arguing is that, well, there's two aspects to your life. There's the aspect where you are the feeling thing and you are the device that needs to be comforted. And there's also the aspect that you are a device that has the capacity to have an influence on the world, and you can reduce harm and suffering. And unfortunately, those two aspects of your existence cannot work harmoniously. If you're going to be a hero, that means you can't be screwing the chicks all the time. You actually have to go fly to the train and catch it, and it's heavy, and it, you know, wears you down a little bit, and you got to eat a cheese sandwich or something to get over it. You know, you've got to do the work, and the work isn't going to be fun. So you personally may not win. All the people on the train win, you don't win. But the point is just having win in the equation. So, I mean, I've made all of these analogies before. I mean, the Olympics thing just popped into my head again, where, God damn, I mean, this is such evidence of stupidity on planet Earth, that we waste all of these resources on these silly events to create a ton of losers and one or two winners. You know, one or two people who will survive all the inspection of their personal life, where it won't be found out that they raped some girl when they were 15, or, you know, all the other, you know, their father was a fucking Nazi. I mean, all the crap that, you know. So even when you're a winner, you're often a loser, because they find out you did steroids, and then you get humiliated and blah, 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 blah. So only a certain percentage of the winners even actually win, where they maintain any sense of dignity. They don't get caught drunk driving or some other kind of crap that just ruins them anyway. So, I mean, it's such a preposterous thing we've invented, where we create a ton of losers, a bunch of people who broke their back or in wheelchairs forever, you know, to compete, to win. You know, they're after the win. I want to win. I want to live the good life as a winner. And to do that, they've paralyzed themselves, or they killed somebody else. You know, threw a spear through them or whatever. You know, that happens. Audience gets killed by frickin' bullshit events. You know, all the skiing accidents. So all the injuries, all the disabilities, all the mental trauma of, oh, I could have been a contender. I could have, you know, they'll just walk through the rest of their fucking life going, I could have been a contender. I could have been a contender. Instead, I'm a garbage man. You know, all this resentment, all of this, you know, alcoholism, drug abuse, all kinds of shit. I mean, it is such a fail in terms of what humans get out of this crap of sport, you know, for the sake of gambling and doing other crap. I mean, it's just so psychotically sick. And nobody even talks about it. Not even a word, you know, not even a peep of critique of just how psychologically ruinous the path that the average human is on, or the average human tolerates or finds acceptable. What human beings have found acceptable is just so dismally stupid. All right, and so the point I'm really making is here's a guy who philosophically seems to be somewhat aware of this idea of more thinking better, less thinking bad, more thinking good, you know, in terms of advancing your condition, and part of your condition is your effect on the world. That's part of the measure of your life, is what did you do to the planet, what did you do to the other feeling things on the earth. And but he just doesn't get it. He just doesn't make this simple connection that, well, frankly, I can reduce it. I can do the reductionism all the way down, and in the end, the only thing that matters is, what are the things feeling? Are they comfortable or uncomfortable? And that's all that's going to matter. How much torture did we mix into our human pie? And the torture is, how many animals did we torture and humans? I mean, how many sentient brains were tortured for how much time to make human pie? You know, and that's it. That's all there is. There's nothing else happening here. There's no other better equation. There's no other better perspective. That's it. That's the bottom. That's getting to the core of the frickin' equation. And so the real equation is how do I clean the pie mix? How do I pick the rotten shit out of the pie mix? How do I fix the pie so the pie has less torture in it? And that's all there's going to be. So how do you make less bad happen in the world? And that's your job. That's the definition of a good life, is you creating good, whether it happens to you personally or whether it happens to some other guy. It just can't fucking matter. It's just about how much did you prevent, how much did you fix, how much did you improve, how much is the world a better place because you exist, or is it a lesser place because you existed? Now those things are really hard to know, but the only thing we can know is the probability. So we know what's probably going to make the world a better place. Now it's probably a good idea if you go back in time to stick a fork in Hitler's eye. Now we don't know for sure though, because there could be a scenario where something even worse than Hitler shows up because you killed Hitler. Possible, but I'm just saying as a probabilistic equation, you have pretty good odds. You have 50-50 odds anyway, so I'd say you probably have 60-40 or something. You got more reason to stick it in than not to. In terms of hoping to do better than 60 million people killed horribly, you could probably do better than that with a new shot at the future, a different future. And yeah, and who knows what else you would have reclamated if Germany didn't get ruined by the war, because Germany had a lot of things going for it, you know, clean streets and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it was winning in a lot of other ways besides winning in terms of power. It was kind of a high-performance country, and so there were some habits or some ways of organizing systems that were actually good, and got, you know, stained with the badness of the whole Nazi bullshit. Well, anyway, that's all. It's a little bit tangential. So, yeah, so again, I'm just trying to restate or re-emphasize a point I have made over and over. If you want to do this, you know, get to the core of it, get to the reality, you want to live a real life in the real world, you're stuck with this reality. Now, I'm not saying you can live it. I'm not preaching it as like, you know, look at me, I'm doing so well, you know, or, you know, I'm not pointing a finger and saying you suck. I'm just saying if you're going to talk about it philosophically, which this asshole does, Nick. I mean, he talks about it philosophically, as if he's saying something that, you know, means something. And it's just so empty, you know, to have silly conversations about, well, I have no superpowers, I have no ability, I can't change anything, I can't do anything, when those are all just cop-outs because you have no idea whether you could or could not. That's one of the truths that are invisible to us. All we know is there's a chance, and he won't buy the ticket. He won't buy the I'll save the world ticket because he doesn't want to spend the $1.50. I mean, he knows that's work. I don't want to do the work, so fuck that. Okay. And that's just such a glib, cop-out, cowardly way of recognizing the truth. Now, I'd have a lot more respect for him if he said, I'm just too much of a fucking selfish cunt, and I just can't change my behavior. But I clearly understand the concept, and if I'm going to preach something, I should be preaching the right concept, not my hypocrisy. So because I'm a coward and I suck, I shouldn't presume everybody else is, and I should be saying the truth, which is you all could do better, you should do better, there's a lot better to be done, and there's a lot to fix, and you don't fix it by ignoring it or copping out or duplicitously talking crap, you know, to evade the subject. You know, you don't do any of that. I mean, that's not the road to doing it right. Doing it right is to be honest, tell the truth, admit the fact that you suck, that you're not doing as good as you should, or as much as you can do, that you could do, okay, if you had a better wheels turning in your stupid fucking brain, that gave you that little extra bit of motivation to say, okay, I can't keep letting my own needs distract me from accomplishing my job here, which is to get the most out of this stupid bag of flesh that I can, the most out of this air passing this, whatever I'm doing here, I need to make it peak. I need to get the most out of it because something very valuable is at stake. Torture, for fuck's sake. Torture is at stake. And you can't get people motivated. And you have people, like I said, playing this hypocrisy game where I'm just going to pretend the truth fits my shallow, selfish motivations. No, the truth isn't going to fit those. The truth is likely to be something completely different than what you selfishly want it to be. So, again, I appreciate Nick's conversation. I have in the past, and he's smart, and he's good at it. But he just sucks in the sense that when you really need him, when the rubber really hits the road, when you really get to the core, he runs the fuck away. He does the Nietzsche bullshit and evades the subject. Just basically says, no, all good doing fails. It's hopeless. Nothing can be changed. Nothing can do. It's just horse shit. Because he just doesn't want the job of what it is to be a smart person. Being a smart person imposes tons and tons of higher obligations, and that's just a fact. The dumb people can smell, and they can be, do all kinds of stupid shit. Smart people are running at a higher, they got a lot more obligations. It's just a fact. If they're honorable, smart people. And I guess that's the real argument. If they really honor their intelligence or respect their intelligence, then they know that, yes, when their intelligence tells them, hey, you know what, you're an asshole, they have to listen. And that's just, that's being fair. And it's not being so obvious as, well, I'll just come up with a rationalization that makes reality suit my personal taste. Can't do that. So, yeah, and it even goes to things, kind of sacred territory where you can make these, where you can see where you're cheating the argument. Because you could make these arguments about how aesthetically you would want, like, all the women to be a certain way, and because those are the things that turn you on, and but in theory they could have 10 million tentacles. Even slugs have sex. Lots of really ugly shit. Is highly motivated. People are motivated. You can see it in human beings. There's people who are very passionate, and you're saying, I don't know where they get that from, looking at that. And you might think subjectively that there's a difference between these things, but there probably really isn't. One food isn't really better than another food. It really just has to do with how you experience it. So if you experience it as wonderful, then it's wonderful. It just doesn't, and then we're just really talking about how low maintenance. We're just really, the conversation is you want to be as low maintenance in your life. You want to consume as little as possible, and you want to produce as much as possible. If you're smart. If you're smart, that's the obligation, because production is good, consumption is bad. One requires work, pain, suffering, unpleasantness. One produces comfort, pleasure, fun, comfort. And that's just the way it is. And because that's valuable to you, it's valuable to feel good. It's true for the rest of them. And the good isn't better when it happens in my brain than when it happens in somebody else's brain. The feeling is the feeling. It just doesn't matter whose brain's experiencing it. It's just a fact that it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Even if Hitler's happy, it doesn't matter. The happy is still good. And it's just a fact. Now, again, you get into conversations about, well, no, but over the period of a life, you wouldn't want Hitler to be happy, because then Hitler will be more able to do evil in the world and all of that crap. So we're not talking about overall effects. We're talking about, or even punishment. Punishment has value in reclamating or preventing, right? So obviously, to prevent crime, you have to make crime not pay. So therefore, you have to make somebody pay the negative price to discourage the crime. And of course, if you don't punish the ones who are guilty, you're not going to prevent crime, because then people will say, well, I might as well commit a crime because the innocent get punished, not the guilty. That kind of thing. So for it to work, and it has real value in terms of how much you'll prevent through the use of prevention, you obviously do have to cause pain to prevent pain in many cases. That's just a fact. So, but the positive gain, it has to be more than the negative pain, and blah 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 blah. That's why you shouldn't do this whole thing at all, ever. That's why there shouldn't be any of this crap in the first place, is because these are insane deals we're making, where we're saying essentially we'll accept torturing some minority of things to pleasure some majority of things. And these equations are toxic, sick, they're crazy. Yeah, it's never worth it. You never undo, you never fix, you never make anything truly good. All you do is prevent the harm or prevent some current negative condition, but you can never fix the horrible price that's already been paid. I mean, we are not doing anything valuable enough to justify all the miserable, horrible ways we killed people in World War II. The radiation sickness alone from the bombs, you can't undo that. There's nothing you're going to do that's so frickin' special that it's going to make that torture okay. It was worth the torture. No, it wasn't. It never can be. But anyway, again, I don't want to get just to the base argument that you're always stuck with accepting a very imperfect, and the point would be is that imperfect is already a negative, because all you could do is really get to zero, because all we do by creating sensation or being sensate is to create the potential for the negative condition and the motivation to elevate our condition, to get out of quicksand, to get out of, ew, my feet feel clammy, I need to unclammy my feet. We're always fighting against the negative condition. The reason why being rich is fun is because it's so much better than being poor. Poor sucks. It's always comparisons to the lesser. We're not, that's all we're doing is fixing broken. So don't make broken, you don't have to fix the broken. Don't make the broken, you don't have to fix the broken. Don't make broken things or breakable things, and then you don't have to fix them. And it's always more expensive fixing than you're ever going to be able to profit, because you can't make a profit, because the only profit is to find some other broken thing to fix. Fixing broken things is only money. It's the only thing it can be made out of. The only thing that has value is a prevention or a fix. That's it. So the whole currency is dependent on it. So how the fuck can you, how can you use I made this person feel better and use that to justify some other person who feels bad in the past? You can't. You already used up the currency by making somebody feel better. The value doesn't have any durability. You can't use, I fixed a broken plate. Now somehow that fixes this broken plate over here that never got fixed, that actually is broken, went through the suffering. You know what I'm saying? You can't prevent something here and make that fix another broken thing over here. Just can't do it. And we know that a ton of things got left broken. We know a ton of people actually experienced torture. So we know it happened, and you can't now fix it because it already happened. It's done. So it's stuck. You're stuck with a negative liability that can never, a debt that can never be paid. And so there's no point in playing, because the money only fixes debts. The only currency is to prevent a debt or to pay off a debt. And when you've paid off the debt, that doesn't mean you have profit. It doesn't mean you still have money. When you paid the debt, you've used up the money. You can't now use it to fix some past debt. I mean, another important point. So anyway, I'll play a little bit of Nick talking just for the hell of it. And there is a second version of this video that he's going to make, where he's probably going to point out how it's a deterministic universe and none of us can be different than we are, and blah 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 blah. And clearly the point is not that you can be different than you are. The point is that you're constantly changing as you interact with the world. You're listening to my voice right now, so you're being changed by me in subtle ways. I'm not saying you're paying any attention to what I'm saying. I'm not even saying you're agreeing with what I'm saying. I'm just saying regardless, you're hearing it. And this gibberish, I mean, I could just say gibberish, you know, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, right? Even the fact that I could still say that after 40 years or 50 years, amazing. You could say something stupid like that, and maybe it doesn't mean anything, but why the hell is it still in my head, right? So some bitch in a stupid movie when I was a kid says this stupid shit, and it's still stuck in my head. Even though I don't know what the fuck that means. What the fuck is that crap? 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, specialty sesame seed bun, right? Why the fuck is that in my head? Right? It doesn't mean anything. It's crap. Okay, but it's in there. So everything's in there. And everything's going to be processed into what you are and who you are. So this bullshit that none of this matters, that none of this changes anything, blah, 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 blah. We're reading a script. Yes, it's already written, the script we're going to read. But the fact is that these interactions, we change. We already know that. We change. I'm a different person than I was when I was 7, and I'm a different person than I was when I was 22. I'm a different person. I've changed. Now, I haven't changed like a lot of people change that much because, frankly, philosophically, I did most of my philosophizing at 11 and figured out all this shit back then. That, oh, I'm an asshole. I mean, that was the key moment, right? I was like 11 years old. I realized I was a fucking cunt. Because every interaction I had with people was always some kind of connive. I was always saying, how come I'm always looking for what's in it for me? And I said, gee, that is cynical as fuck. I'm buying people presents or doing this or trying to do a favor for somebody, and I'm always calculating how it's going to come back to me. And I was like, whoa, what a fucker I am. Yeah, so then I already done the biggest piece of philosophizing you can do, which is to figure out, oh, my basic function is selfish. That's the basic function of the machine, is selfish asshole. Oh, and so I don't really want to do selfish asshole, so at least even when I can't physically do better than selfish asshole, I'm going to think a hell of a lot better than selfish asshole. I'm going to have a philosophy that's going to be more than selfish asshole. Oh, so important. Just so important in terms of making me who I am. Transitioning me from what was an animal before 11. Before 11, I was kind of an animal. I was still smart, but I'm just saying I was still an animal. And then after 11, yeah, I was something else. I was more than an animal. So anyway, so yeah, let's play a little bit of Nick just for the fun of it. I do have it sped up insanely, but whatever.
Are living normal television advertising lives. They're all being orientated to push up towards the fat end.
Right, and you're not doing any better than that. You're nothing but a candy commercial because you're basically saying the same thing. Cop out. Whatever that whole 60s thing is, turn off, turn on, turn off, run away, hide, be a selfish cunt. I mean, you're just sending the same fucking stupid dumbass message. Oh, you can't do any better. Oh, you can't be changed by somebody else's words. Oh, you can't understand a concept and it can't change. Of course it can. Of course, part of the determinism can be the people start having a more intelligent conversation, and somehow because of the more intelligent conversation the people become better people. Oh yeah, that could possibly happen. That is a realistic attainable goal, that people start having intelligent conversations. Yes, it is possible. I mean, it's just such bullshit. And again, this doesn't have anything to do with real IQs and all this kind of stuff, because when you're really talking about the conversation, you don't have to be very smart to understand the word torture. You don't have to be very smart to understand the word broken. You don't have to understand that, oh yeah, if I fix my car, that doesn't fix somebody else's car. Yeah, you don't have to be really, really smart to get that fucking concept, do you? Oh, and the cars are basically the same. Engine, steering wheel, wheels. You know, I can't play this game that my car is truly special and all the other cars are some kind of lesser thing. That is bullshit. Now, does that take... Come on, realistically, you don't need no fucking 190 IQ to get that one.
So, now understanding YouTube videos, knowing that I have to finish somewhere, and realise that I've about said all that I wanted to say, certainly in this video.
So he didn't say much in the video, frankly. I mean, just musing about the catches that come up and trying to imagine where your perfect life is, or even through history, because obviously history had a lot of cool events in it. But yeah, you wouldn't want to have to poo in your pants and then have your slaves clean your poo up. I mean, you wouldn't want to have to live that, in mites, and your hair's all getting off, so you have to wear wigs, and you got all kinds of itchy shit, and you get the plague from fleas. I mean, you don't want to have to live in all that crap. Fuck that.
All I can repeat is, this is the thing that came to my mind, having the thought experiment of how wonderful a life I could hypothetically create for myself.
Right, so, and then this whole game of playing this hypothetical life thing, right, when we know that life is moments, that there's this process of getting the bitch, chasing the bitch, getting closer to the bitch, getting first base, second base, third base, playing the game, getting caught up in the game, and then there's the finale, and then there's the tired, and then there's the nagging, and I have to go poo, and I mean, there's all the little necessities that come up in life that just tarnish the whole thing anyway. So you can't just stay in the adventure. And so movies are 2 hours long because everybody has to go eat or poo. I'm just saying that you can't get caught up in anything for too long a period of time, because your brain starts figuring out, hey, I've been fucking her for a half an hour. And it starts drifting, and things start going somewhere else, moving on, and that the much of life is moving into the deficits, the part where you have to pay to play, and you got to pay your toll, and there's tolls tied to everything. No free lunches, and blah blah blah.
Came to the realization that this is surely not a sensible way of thinking about life, and a sensible way of thinking about...
Right, so again, see, talk about sensible, he's just going to talk about it in some sort of personally pragmatic way. What is best for me? Well, the best thing for me to do is to evade, okay, being smart, evade being... seeing obligations and seeing danger and seeing risk and seeing all that stuff that I'm not allowed to impose on somebody. So yes, the game to play is drink your lead paint, because that'll be profitable for one individual little sentient organism. Okay, it won't make you productive, it won't make you optimum, it won't get the best performance out of your little cells. It won't be, how do I optimize, the performance of my liver and my kidneys and my heart and how do I maximize their performance? Well, by saying something rational, not something irrational. So it's like Nick is making all of his organs fail. His eyeballs are failing. His kidneys, his pancreas, they're all failing, okay, because he is talking shit, What's in it for me? Shit. Shit that just can't possibly, to somebody smart, can't mean a goddamn thing.
Like, if for no other reason, it is always going to tail off into a pointy end and then pop into nothingness.
Again, yes, the nothingness doesn't undo it, though. So this idea that somehow, because there's an end to the book, all the other pages disappear. Well, no, they don't. The pages are written. They're part of the reality. You can't undo it. You can't say it didn't happen because it stopped happening. I mean, because something stops, hey, the vacuum cleaner turned off. That doesn't mean the vacuum cleaner wasn't on. It's in the fucking video. You can hear it. It doesn't undo it. The fact that it ends doesn't mean it didn't begin, and didn't mean that it didn't last.
It's a life moving towards an acceptance of that arrow line movement of direction towards the skinny end, and acceptance that life gets skinny and eventually disappears, is probably a better way to live life than...
Yes, it's absolute bullshit. So, I mean, obviously this is like getting into a conversation with these green people who think they saved the world because they threw a can in a garbage can. It just it's not going to save the world. It's not going to solve the problem, not going to fix the problem. You have to do more than that. You know, the same thing with vegetarians. Oh, I've solved the animal crisis by not, you know, paying the slaughterhouse. Well, you really haven't, because in some ways, okay, that's just a fact, that that industry prevents more harm, because now there aren't a bunch of, you know, they're using insecticides, they're killing things off, they're making dead spaces on Earth, places that are sterile. And so there's less life. There's less things being killed every day, not more things being killed every day. And it's just a fact. I mean, I'm not saying that overall it's best not to be a meat eater. I'm just saying you have to look at it realistically and understand that nature is the real mass murderer. I mean, it makes us look silly by comparison. I mean, what it does in one day, it takes us a whole year to do.
Always striving to get towards, and maybe even futilely stay up in the fat end, which is obviously what advertising life tries to get us all to do.
Yeah, and that's all you're talking, really, is the same kind of bullshit. The fat end of my personal I'm personally not horrified. I'm not blighted by bad images. I don't see the stupid humans falling off their bridges. I'm not going to do any rescuing because I'm just going to negate the importance of it. I mean, it's, you know, again, it's just, if somebody wrote that story, Superman comes from Krypton, and he basically does a bunch of personal meditation and eats cheese sandwiches and you know, but lives simple. He doesn't live in a mansion or anything, but he lives simple and comfortable, blah, 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 and some sort of, I'm a little joyful Superman, la, 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 and he goes skipping through daisies, really simple life. Oh, I made how the daisies are happy, happy. I'll just find some bitches to fuck and I'll, you know, blah, 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 splendor in the grass. Everybody'd say that's a shitty story. He should have came here and saved the fucking day. Fucking pussy.
And I think I'll end it there. Plus, I think it's only 14 minutes according to that. That's more than I asked myself to do. I thought I could get away with 20 minutes, so I'm very happy to get away with 14. I do hope I've ducked away from the wind enough not to have bothered you with wind noise.
It looks pretty tame, actually, the wind noise. But the camera going, it's a submarine sound. It's pretty cool. I guess you got to take the autofocus off.
And just bothered you with my mouth noise. Bye.
So, yes, it does probably bother me, because, again, your focus is, you know, how do you escape harm, which is, again, just stupid in the context of all these harmables sitting in a pile, and you're just going to have a conversation with one harmable and say, oh, I can tell you how to get through your life without having to smell any bad smells and without having any thorns in your paw and blah blah blah, and it's just such a fucking cop-out. Ignorant, stupid, you know, lazy, intellectually lazy cop-out. Alright, so probably enough of a video for me also. So, till the next time and such. Yeah, it's just been, you know, this week is termites. I had to, you know, still working on it. You know, termites, little fuckers. Anyway, what a mess they can make, though. Roof repairs. It took me a while to get up on the roof. It took me actually like 2 solid weeks before I could actually make the transition from the top of the ladder to the roof. But I finally did it. So, I think it's fixed. But it's that kind of stuff ongoing for another few months. They'll just be getting this place so I can live here, you know, have my shit fit and have an organized, you know, I'm sleeping on the floor still. I mean, it just ain't what it should be yet. But anyway, I'm tolerating it, so that's good. And, but mostly, I guess, because I know I don't have choices, so I have to, this is it. So, gotta play on this field. So I just gotta learn where the holes and the ruts are and try to avoid them. Pretty much. Alright, till the next time. And such. No, I really think that's enough. I will declare it so. Yeah. I declare it enough of a video. Yeah, I just did that. I already did it. It happened. You don't have to wait for it. It already happened.